Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a grandiose and fantabulous day. Let's try doing that fabulous. All right, so fate, destiny, huh? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to title it that when it actually is all said and done, but something along those lines. Someone asked me to do a show, and I actually think this is a really cool topic and thought I would give it a go. Obviously, this is my take. That's the caveat to say beforehand and all that. See if I can make sure I'm out of the sun. There we go. So, yeah, this is kind of an interesting topic. So what I thought I would do to certainly get the playing field leveled is do the definitions, at least the way they are online. I just, hit the first one that came. So whatever, it works. It'll work for a point of discussion. And then I'm going to share a couple little tidbits that I think are germane, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, it's very interesting. And I think the two words being somewhat different the way they are is very important to consider. Because fate and destiny, I think I did for sure, lumped it in kind of the same, equals the same thing. And there seems to be a distinguishment, just if that's even a word. I should look that one up, right? Needless to say, God, I hope not. Thank God we're not playing Scrabble. Be like, Scrabble police. No, it's not in my little fancy dictionary. Yes, so anyway, the song we came in with, that was Bon Jovi, Born to Be My Baby. I wrote that down somewhere, didn't I? Yeah, there it is. Okay, okay, so now that all being said, we're going to start with fate, the concept of fate. And belief, do you believe in it? Do you think it acts in our life? That's, I think, kind of the direction the question was phrased from. And I'm going to kind of take it from that. So we'll see how this plays out. So the definition of fate is the development of events beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power. Be destined to happen, turn out, or act in a particular way, but I think the first one's really more to the point. The development of an event beyond a person's control, regarded as determined by a supernatural power. So the way I see that and how I see how that interacts in our life, that's, I think, how I want to cover this, because that's what makes sense. There are definitely events that happen that are outside of our control, all right? So I know it's all us pushed out, but I don't think that necessarily answers every single question in life. That's not the golden ticket, I don't think. It's hugely important when it comes to us working through manifestations and working through seeing what's blockages and stuff like that. That's us reflected out for sure, always. That's like solid. That's a really good tool. But when it comes to like life and living your life, I mean, just in general, I don't think that always answers the question, frankly. I don't think it's broad enough. So fate is stuff that happens beyond our control, determined as supernatural, sure, act of God for sure, right? Crazy superstorms, all that kind of stuff, right? You could be in a country that hits it or is in the way or in the path, and if you are, then, usually people tend to fare well, especially when they know in advance, right? But if it's just one of those things. But again, it's one of those, it's out of your control. They do happen in our life, and certainly there's times where you can't avoid it. But I will say, oftentimes where your energy's at, and this is why I always go back to the spiritual kind of concept. It's so important to me, and it's a big part of why I do this, but it's the aspect of us that's learning, growing, developing, and is here to kind of like, it's one of the main purposes of why we're alive, right? It's why we love to love, why so many of us are after our specific someones for that matter, is love is one of the closest feelings to this energy we experience when we're from the other place, the place we come from, and the place we end up going to afterwards. So, your energy from your spiritual level, where you're at, and your doubts, and all these kinds of things, like all the different little questions that we ask ourselves on a daily basis, all the things that we believe, all the times we're evil and wicked to other people, or maybe really good and happy to other people, like all these things are kind of examples of your energy. Your energy will have you be where you're meant to be or where you're supposed to be. So whatever the case is, however that works, I don't see it as fate as much as we are guiding ourselves on the chessboard or checkerboard or Chinese checkers, marble, whatever. But on the playing field of life, right, on the rugby field, we are positioning ourselves based off our energy. Almost like an old pinball machine, right? It's like the way you bounce off. It's just bang, and that's where you end up because of the way you're vibrating. You want to work on things internally. That's always going to be my answer no matter where you are, no matter what your problem is. Start inside. There's be happier, be whatever, work on what your family issues are, work on the fact that you hate your mom, work on the fact, whatever your thing is. That, believe it or not, will make an enormous difference in your manifesting your specific someone, and you're manifesting a new job, and you're manifesting a new boat, and you're manifesting a tank so you can drive around town on a tank. Who doesn't want to do that? I don't think it's legal, but whatever. You could manifest one if you really had to. I don't know. So the way fate in my mind works out is if some sort of thing's got to happen on a larger level, and I still think it has to do with group energy, but that's so a different topic and a longer show. But if there's some sort of, event from supernatural God's event, an earthquake, a hurricane, whatever, right? Don't even get me started because some of those things I think can be man-made. But anyway, don't get me started. An act of God, one of those crazy things. You can be in the right place at the right time. That might happen to be like when you're traveling to another location and that's where the earthquake hits that day, like that you're gone. So, there's definitely been times where I've not been home when things have happened. And there's been times where I've been here for solid earthquakes. I live in Southern California. We've had a good couple. And gosh, Lord, knock on wood, I shouldn't have the level of power to control an earth event. Again, experiencing my house shaking. If that's me manifesting that solely, that's just me pushed out. That's rad. But no, the earthquakes are a little larger than that. That's like worldly. So I think there are certain aspects that we kind of buy into when we come into this planet and this energy, this sphere, this time and space continuum, right? This whole 9 yards, like this neighborhood for that matter. Like I'm in the same time zone as all the people around me. We get into certain little niches where we're all in it together and we all kind of experience a sort of group, hive mind, if you will, even though sci-fi people will hate that. But it's that concept of there's, as a group, you start to have a group belief, if you will, a group reality that you all can interact in and share in. And then you go in and close your door inside your house and all of a sudden you got fairies and unicorns and they're all, running around, whatever. So again, fate. I think it has to do with your energy, where you're at, and that level of that. The other one that really comes into play is destiny. Now, destiny is an interesting one, in my opinion. The events that will necessarily happen to a particular person or thing in the future. Now, that's what I thought fate kind of was, but no, fate's kind of different, right? Destiny is what I thought fate was. But it's the events that are necessarily going to happen in the particular person or thing or in the future. Now, I will ask some questions. If we're trying to manifest anything, sometimes maybe like if you're trying to do a family, for example, that might involve making more money, right? So the fact that you're manifesting a family and then you end up with a job, is that destiny? No, not necessarily, but it is a particular thing that will happen down the road. So I'm just giving examples of things where I think that the wording, because I think when we're manifesting, that's the future. We're creating the future, right? So certain things kind of, like I always call them, connecting dots. Dots need to happen. Things will need to pop up. You'll have to experience these things. You'll have to, you know what I mean? Like that has to happen. So, okay, kind of destiny, but I think that's loose, and I don't think that's really correctly what it means. Now, what I am going to say that I think is a little esoteric, a little strange, but whatever it is, if I'm not being honest about what I'm talking about, if I'm not at least coming from where my belief hangups are, then you have no idea where I'm coming from, right? So believe me, don't believe me, and I always say believe yourself, listen to your higher self, listen to your heart, listen to what you feel inside. Don't ever listen to anyone, especially even me, right? If you like what I say and we're resonating groovy, still come up with your own opinions, your own thoughts. I'm just bringing up topics, and I'm hoping to get you guys thinking about them. But before we come into our lives, there are certain things that we'd like to experience. And sometimes it is soulmates, they call it, right? People that are way close in our soul family. And we're like, all right, you and I, we're going to date for like, a year and a half. And it's going to happen right in the middle of high school. And it's just like there's some things that are kind of planned out. And I think if anyone that's ever experienced deja vu, I think that's what that's in reference to, because before we come here, there are some key things we plan on experiencing. Destiny, I don't know, planned, like from a soul level. So no matter what, that unconscious part of our conscious self, right, that part that really is the puppet master of us. Not really, well, it's us. It's still us. That's me, right? So puppet master, I don't know, like Don't try to get too hung up on it, but essentially like a higher dimensional version, the part of you that's connected to Source, the part of you that is Source, the part of you that is beyond here, that part remembers this movie we watched before we came here. So there are times in life where we will experience something that feels like you're like deja vu. You're like, what? I swear I've done this before. This has happened before. Those moments for sure I would kind of call destiny. Can you avoid them if you wanted to? I don't think you want to ever. I think it's just so embedded within the soul that you would never even consider that. Like that's not even, you wouldn't know about it to even try to not make it happen. Like it's so below your level of conscious. So no, I don't think you would even be aware of it. It's an unconscious manifestation that's going to happen, and it's it involves other people already. Like you guys made handshakes before we were born. That's my opinion. Again, whatever you believe on that. So destiny to me, there is that level of it where certain things are going to happen in your life. You're probably not aware of it. I don't think it happens all the time. I think we create our realities probably like 98% of the time. Seriously, like maybe more, maybe a little more, maybe 99% of the time. We create our realities. It's us. It's to borrow the phrase that's controversial right now a little bit, not really, but kind of, is us pushed out, which I still love, and I still think it's awesome, and I don't care if it's confusing. I'll maybe do another show on it. I do understand that there's maybe some disagreements that, some of us might see this slightly differently than other people. It's just my spin on it, right? So I think getting overly hung up sometimes on what's said exactly on the words more than the content of what the message is attempting to be. Anyway, here I am defining words. So whatever. Can't trust me. Anyway, destiny. I think it's one of those things where an event's definitely going to happen. I think there's some things that do, but otherwise it's you. It's what you're thinking right now is creating, 98% of your reality. And yeah, there's times when you're manifesting something, there's going to be an immediate destiny, if you will, that you're creating. And fate, yeah, I think fate has more to do with your energy and where you're at energetically. And that's where you're going to end up in all these events that are beyond our control. I mean, there's, certainly are always supernatural events, period. Mother Nature, we like to call it. So no matter what, that whole group of events fall into play. But then there's other weird events that you just don't plan in life that just kind of show up out of the blue. Again, I think those have more to do with your energy, where you're at right now, and what you're manifesting, frankly. When you're the one that just suddenly gets laid off, well, maybe your energy was the one like that was better, or even generally more importantly, you've got some better job opportunity that if you don't go looking for right now, you're never going to get it because the timing's perfect. So, one of those things. Anyway, I hope that all makes sense. It's Dan RadioStyle, and fate, destiny, huh? And if you'd like to contact me, that'd be wonderful. Feel free to do so at danradiostyle@gmail.com. Hey, that means it's time for me to start cooking dinner. That's fantastic. We're going to be going out with a song, and I chose this one just because the band name, ironically, and yeah, it's Destiny's Child, and the song we're doing is Bootylicious. Trying anyways. I don't think you're ready. I don't think you're ready.